Namaste, Archana Pami here. This is the how-to for Upavista Kona, seated wide-legged forward fold. Now we are going to extend our legs as wide as possible and then approach a forward fold holding the big toes. So I will demonstrate how this can be done. I'm going to use a couple of blocks because if you're not able to get into the complete pose with the fold, you can always use the block to just suspend your body on top of it, rather your head, not your body. I apologize. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is open the legs. I always take the cue of my mat, so I try to point the toes towards the edges of the mat. Now if your hips are not open and your thighs are and your hamstrings and even your calf, if they are not comfortable for such a deep stretch, you could keep them halfway through and try to approach. Now some of you may be able to get a 3-finger grip on the big toe. You could also hold outside. Now if this feels intense, just grab a hold of the shin or somewhere closer to the ankle, so you make this approach slightly easy. Now if you're going to try this for the first time, I would recommend you do this without even holding. So just extend your legs as wide as possible for you. Even if it is halfway through the mat, that's absolutely fine. I'm so used to it, so I'm keeping it as wide as I can. Once you get into this pose, keep your feet active. What I mean by that is your toes flexed, so that way your knee is comfortable and there is no deep extension of the knee. Slightly ensure that your knee is engaged and pointing outwards and your feet is flexed. Now this itself is halfway into the pose, so I'm going to just place the arms by my hips, extend the hips, and I often use this action to widen the stretch, because then you're moving your pelvic forward and your hips are opening even further and your thighs are opening further. So you could stay here. By just doing this, you're doing Upavista Konasana in its basic and simplest form. Now to start approaching the bind, something that I do yin style is to take 2 blocks. Now you could place them flat or you could place them one above the other. Just place your head and just place your hand in front of you. So by doing this, you're slightly approaching the pelvic tilt, which is going to help you then fold further into the forward bend. So you could do that. You could do something like, if you're comfortable, you could go further. And how do you get into this? You inhale and lengthen, and like with all forward bends, you exhale and then you fold forward. So good tip is to, for the first exhale, just go how far your body allows. Then you inhale. You will realize in the next exhale you'll be able to go further a bit. Even if it is a little bit more, just try it. Don't force yourself. You might end up having a tear somewhere of a muscle. So inhale in place, exhale, fold forward. Just place your head on block. If you don't have a block, feel free to stack 2-3 pillows or bolsters and just place your head on that. Once you're here, just continue to stay breathing. Inhale, exhale. A good reminder, I was beginning to flex my toes. So flex your toes towards the legs. I was beginning to point my toes. So just flex your toes so your knee and your muscles are active and there is not much of a pressure on them. Inhale and slowly lift back up. Now this was one way to get into Upavista Konasana. Another is with a bind. I'll show you how you can even approach the bind with even bent knees and not just full. So keep the legs as wide as you can. Tilt your pelvic. By tilting your pelvic, you can just use the forearm support to just adjust the pelvic, so it is almost already bent for you to approach this forward bend. And wherever you can, hold your leg. As you inhale, the goal is to try to ride the chest and the belly on top of your thighs. So I'm trying this with the 3-finger hold. You inhale and you bring it closer, and you inhale and you bring it closer. So you could stay here itself and then slowly explore opening your legs and then as you exhale, further approach. So this is one way of getting into the pose. Or just stay there and you hold. So you can just hold and you stay there. So there are multiple ways to get into this pose, and the full pose is something like this. I always start with my knees bent and inhale, lengthen, and as I exhale, I explore extending my leg, knees rotated. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Gazing forward, head is parallel to the floor, legs stretched out as wide as possible, toes flexed, kneecap rotated outwards. Staying here for as long as I would like, but if you're trying this for the first time, a minimum of 15 seconds. As they say in Raja Yoga, Stiram Sukham Asanam. Feel comfortable, breathe. I always love to surrender to the mat when I am in deep forward bends, and that helps me go further. Now look up, inhale, and slowly lift up. A good tip to get out of this deep stretch right now, when you have your legs extended, don't just move them. Gently place your palm right below the knee of the leg, and then use it to lift the knee. Same way on both the sides, because you have already deeply extended them. If you just move them, you're going to pull a muscle cramp. I've done that a number of times and I've got cramps from that rather than actually doing the pose. So again, this is a good pose for all reproductive issues, because there is deep hip opening and there is compression on the abdomen. Not recommended for those with deep severe depressions and intense low back issues or sciatica. You could just keep your legs open and place the arms like I mentioned in the beginning and just stay seated in that pose. You could also approach this by sitting with your back against the wall, so your back remains straight and it is not slouching or curving. Right? And you could always use blocks as well to suspend your head on top of the blocks to help start your body adapt to approaching that full bend when your legs are wide open. And those who are having knee injuries or any ankle injuries or hernia, even acidity, some of these deep forward bends may push it up and may cause more injuries if you're already having any groin related injuries or hernia. So I wouldn't recommend you people do that, but other than that, if you don't have any of these issues, feel free to try this, slowly beginning by sitting with your back against the wall and probably stacking up a couple of pillows, bolsters or blocks, and then approaching the forward bend, then bending your knees and then holding them, and then slowly extending your legs while you go into the full Upavista Konasana. Hope this was beneficial. Namaste.